questions that students are asking today have been asked for, I don't know, maybe 3-4 decades. I remember teaching a class in law and morality at Pepperdine Law School many years ago. And the questions that I started hearing from young people at that time were questions I had never heard before. Questions like, is there any such thing as ultimate truth? Because they've been told there is nothing that is, in fact, I would ask them the question, is there anything that's absolute? And the ironic answer would come back, absolutely not. So is there any absolute morality out there? No. They're asking that question now rather openly. They're asking things like, can I be good without God? And if they think they can be good without God, they're good to go. They don't have to listen to God. They don't have to listen to His revealed will for their lives. They're asking questions about, of course, social justice, and that's become the new religion. The trendy ideas of whatever's fashionable in liberal politics has become the new religion. That's where virtue is. That's that phrase, virtue signaling. Sometimes people who have a particular viewpoint that is on the politically liberal left regarding economics or whatever it might be, that has become fashionable for them. In fact, they're very pharisaical about it. They are arrogant. They place many burdens on everybody else for the right language and so forth. But that's sort of a new religion. And yet the young people are saying, do we need church? Do we need to go to church to be good Christians? My heart goes out to a lot of young people on that question. It really does. Because when I walk into churches today and I see what's happening there, even in my own fellowship, I think, what is going on here? Is this just a charade? Is this just a performance? And the more it's a performance, the more I ask the question, is this not just a performance? Many churches, of course, have put in the big bands, the loud music. I went to a building the other day to do a funeral, and I noticed there was a big bowl of earplugs for anybody probably my age that was going to go into the worship needed an earplug. My goodness, it's turned into a performance. And on one hand, young people have kind of been drawn to that. But I think on the other hand, they're trying to get away from something. They're trying to get away from many congregations they might have grown up in that are just dull, that are lifeless. They might as well be Calvinists, the frozen chosen. It's just going through the motions. There's nothing there. And I think they're probably insightful enough to say this cannot be the kind of worship that God is wanting. And so they kind of pendulum swing to something that's got more excitement to it and louder decibels or something, as if God needs to be, louder and louder, like the prophets of Baal on the contest, this screaming out to gods. But I think they're asking the question, is that what church is supposed to be all about? And I would have to agree with them. I don't think it is. But then, do we need church? Well, yes, we do, because God set us in churches. He called us to worship and gathered worship. We do need that. We need the edification, the mutual edification that comes. We need rebuke from people who are spiritual leaders. We need community to support and so forth. So we need the church. And with regard to being good without God, if there were no God, think about this for a minute. If there were no God at all, there would be nothing that's either good or bad, because a natural universe doesn't make moral judgments. There's nothing good, nothing bad. There's just survival of the fittest, period. Here's what's deceptive. young people today are beneficiaries of a system that assumes God. And as long as there's an assumption that there is a God, there are moral foundations that can only come from the idea of there being a God of creation and a God of judgment, accountability. And so that makes society work. But if you, in fact, removed God from the picture altogether, and there was no remnant of the thought of God, absolutely none, if the Beatles were right, you know, it's easy to imagine a world without religion. Actually, it's very difficult to imagine a world without religion. But if you did, if you could actually remove every vestige, every element, every aspect that came from the idea, the notion of God and religion, if you removed it, it's not a world you want to live in. It's living on the Serengeti plain where life is cheap, there's no afterlife, there are no rules except survival of the fittest. So when young people ask all these questions, unfortunately, there's so much confusion out there about these things and so much propaganda that you can be good without God, that you can be a Christian without the church. All of these things that they're asking, it's easy to find people to say what you want to hear as the answer to those questions.